Hi there everyone and welcome back to another tier list video. This time it's the Billboard year-end charts of 2015 that I got in front of me. And 2015 is yet another year that I have actually quite strong memories from. I remember all of these songs that I will be talking about today and I remember them quite well, I have to say. This was maybe another year that I just kind of paid attention to charting music, I suppose. Whether that was a good thing or not back in 2015, I guess we'll find out. I think there are a few standouts today that we will be talking about, but also maybe some that I won't enjoy talking about again and I haven't really enjoyed getting back to. But stick around for the video and you'll find out which ones those are, and of course the ones that I do enjoy. Without further ado, I'm gonna start right from position number 20 on this year-end charts list, which was the song 679 by Fetty Wap and Remy Boyz. And Fetty Wap had a pretty good year here in 2015. There will of course be another more famous song from Fetty Wap to discuss a bit later on, but this one, great little groove to this track. I think there is a fun beat to it with a lot of detailing, which I think is quite enjoyable. Also a nice little sing-along friendly hook. Overall though, I think that maybe vocally it is a little bit underwhelming, which might be an issue. Melodically, like the chorus really sticks melodically, I think, but the vocal style that it's going for is honestly rather distracting, and I think that really holds back my enjoyment for it quite a bit. It's not like I have a problem with what Fetty Wap really creates per se, but I just find like in this particular song, it's a little bit on the distracting side and not really for me. So I will be placing this in the C category because I think at the core, there's something quite neat in this one, but overall, it's vocally too underwhelming and not interesting enough for me to really click with it, and I think that holds back the enjoyment quite a bit. It's not the most mind-breaking song or groundbreaking song either in terms of its approach and arrangement, but enjoyable enough, I would say. So C tier seems right for me. Next up would be Fight Song by Rachel Plattern, which opens up with some kind of cheesy metaphor about being a small boat on a big sea, and the song really goes downhill from there, at least in my opinion. All the more power to Rachel here and her passion, because she puts in a lot of passion into the song. You feel like she really believes in the song, what she's singing, and that it's empowering to her. However, to me, it's not empowering whatsoever. It sounds mostly kind of like a finale to a Disney Channel movie where the villain has now been defeated and now, yes, I did it. I am so powerful. This is my fight song. I made it, and you feel really proud. And it feels very tacky and very on the nose, which I think is probably the main issue. There are like absolutely anthemic choruses to this song, and I think you can really appreciate that. But in my opinion, they're just lacking substance entirely. There's like no surprise, no suspense or contrast being built throughout the song either. It's just all about this upbeat kind of force trying to convince us that this song is really powerful and emotionally loaded, when really I don't feel any of that. I'm placing this one in the E tier. I do not think it's particularly special. And well, I mean, kudos to Rachel here though for getting a hit with it, but I don't really understand why it's a hit, if I'm completely honest. However, I do understand why Where Are You Now by Jack U and Justin Bieber became a hit. Jack U, of course, the alias of the producer duo of Skrillex and Diplo back in 2015 here, who put out an entire album, or was it only an EP? It was something like that though, under the name Jack U, and it was kind of a cool one, if I'm completely honest. This song really highlights a lot of the things that made their music work, which I think was the incredible production quality that they really put together. This song sounds crisp, it's dynamic, it has really distinct ideas. The dynamic vocals from Justin Bieber in this track are actually really strong, I think. He has a lovely delivery throughout this song that keeps everything together. Unfortunately, I'm not really a fan of these like ridiculously high-pitched vocal hook that this song has. The percussive arrangement during these choruses as well also have a little bit of like a strange sound design to them that I'm not really clicking with. I've just never warmed up to this song. And it's like, ultimately, the song is very overly reliant on this instrumental drop to carry the song, which I think is a little bit of a shame, because I do think that the work from Justin Bieber in here is very strong and should absolutely be appreciated. And also the production design and quality of it should also be admired to an extent. It's just that I've never really enjoyed this song particularly much. I will be placing it in the D tier because I think there are enough things here to just really enjoy about it and actually appreciate. But overall, I'm always left a little bit cold by listening to this one, I suppose. Next one up is Jason Derulo, who, of course, I've talked about a little bit before, but he hasn't really appeared as many times as I thought. This is Want to Want Me, which is obviously very much a step in the right direction for Mr. Derulo here, who I've kind of struggled with really appreciating his work. However, this is very sweet, really. Like, this song has something about it that I just really enjoy. I would say that his vocal style, particularly in the verses, is so overly pitchy that it is a bit distracting. But other than that, I think this song has a really catchy hook. I think there are great like rhythmic distinctions in these choruses. Just love how distinguished the guitar strums are in there. They also sound quite punchy and palpable. It's a really lively soundstage throughout the song as well. And I think instrumentation-wise, it just comes together really nicely along with that very memorable hook. I'm placing this one in the B tier. I think it's a strong pop tune with a lot of just convincing and fun aspects to it. Perhaps the pitchy vocals in the verse is what really drags the song away from the A tier. But still, an enjoyable pop tune, something that I could always just enjoy at any time, really. It's sing-along friendly, has a little bit of an energetic drive to it as well, and a nice little listen, I would say. Very much in the vein of what was very popular in 2015, of course, and around this time period, is Lean On by Major Lazer, DJ Snake, and Mö. And this was obviously like a huge hit. I'm surprised it's actually only number 16 on the year-end charts. I thought it would probably be in like the top 5 or so, but it's down here. I remember back in 2015 you could not get away from this song, at least not in Sweden. And I guess it's understandable, like it's really, really catchy. I personally hate this vocal chop hook that the song has. It sounds like kind of muted kazoos mixed with some very strange vocal that goes... Sorry for my bad impression there, but it really sounds very off and not pleasant in any way. However, the bridges are quite strong, I think, vocally. There's an effective hook in those bridges, like vocally, before we get to this instrumental drop. The percussion throughout the song is definitely just banging, really. Like, there's so much drive and punch in the beat, and the mixing is just stellar, really. Like, the production on this track is very convincing. I just can't stand that hook, which is too much of an issue for me to place it into a positive category. Instead, I will be placing it into like a solid category. I'm placing it in the C tier. It's a slight... I prefer it slightly over Where Are You Now, but it's not by much. But yeah, it's a C tier kind of song for me anyway. And moving on, we got Taylor Swift and Kendrick Lamar with Bad Blood. And I'll say this, that I think the bridge is melodically very intriguing in the song. I think that's some strong Taylor Swift work here. But that's about where I think the positive aspects of this particular song ends. The instrumentation of this track really sounds terrible to my ears. There's an excessively emphasized 808s like usage that's very distracting in the song. It just punches through the entire soundstage. It's like they just figured out, ooh, we could implement 808s into our music. Let's just boost them to the max and make sure that nothing else is really being paid attention to. The choruses in this song are recurring letdowns, I have to say. Like, this descending intonation they use melodically is a disappointment. The repetition of the track is a disappointment. Do I need to mention the 808s again? It's a disappointment. Just an incohesive tune, really relying on a catchy chorus. And when I find the chorus to be kind of irritating, that's not a good thing. I'm placing this one in the E tier, right next to Fight Song. I think vocally it kind of works, because I do think that Taylor Swift has obviously very nice resonance to her voice that works in a song like this as well. But the intonation, the approach, the rhythmic style of it, and then yeah, like the production of it as well, like the over-reliance on 808s. I'll mention it 3 times, I suppose, but it's just a very off-putting listen in my book. So E tier for Bad Blood. Something that I won't be placing in the E tier, I can tell you that much, would be Take Me to Church by Hozier. This is such a strange hit song. Like, I don't know why this became like, ooh, we should play this on the radio so people listen to it when they drive to work or whatnot. It's so unfitting for that. Do I have a problem with it? Absolutely not. I freaking love this song, really. I think there are so many fascinating aspects of this one. Of course, like the main thing is the melodrama and the grit that it has. It wants to be very dark and depressing, really, and it just hammers that in with these kind of like punchy and gritty instrumentation that it has. I think there's a massive tension throughout the song, really highlighted during those verses where there's a really cool usage of the 6/4 time signature that just kind of elongates certain lines to provide further tension and emphasize the phrasing in the track, which is really cool. And throughout the whole thing, Hozier has a very palpable vocal emotion in this song. It's just very hard hitting and gripping, and it's a song that you're not supposed to feel very good listening to it. It's not a pop tune in that sense. It's very much a proper hard-hitting storytelling kind of tune with a lot of emphasis on just darkness and drama and melancholy, I suppose. It's an S tier song for me. I have to be honest with myself. So up my alley and very very hard-hitting listen every time I hear it. Perfectly executed as well. I really do feel the emotion from it, even though I think a lot of people could consider it to be very over the top, and particularly when you consider the fact that this is actually like a hit song that was played on the radio. It just doesn't really fit that frame or whatever you say, but it happened. It happened, and I'm not complaining. Next up is, of course, there was a very famous movie released in 2015, I think. Might have been late 2014, might have been early 2015 then, which was, of course, called 50 Shades of Grey. And the theme song, like the main theme song in my head anyway, was Love Me Like You Do by Ellie Goulding. And yeah, what can I say about this song? I don't think it really stands out that much. Like, I don't think this would have been such a hit if it didn't appear in the movie and become such a major thing of it. It's neat vocals in this one. Overall, just kind of fine. I think the instrumentation is a little bit flat in the choruses. Doesn't really spark a lot of emotion to me. The choruses are also quite repetitive. Melodically, it's not really a hook that challenges you as a listener or anything like that. It relies a lot on repetition of the same phrasing and wording being tossed around. The vocals are fine. Like they elevate it somewhat, but at the end of the day, it's just kind of a solid C tier kind of song. I'm placing it above the other two, actually, because I just think there's nothing really inherently wrong with this one. It's just there. It's fine. I'm not sure if I would turn it on, but I'd probably get a little bit tired of it after the 2-minute mark or so. Call my attention span short, but when it comes to a song that doesn't really interest me that much, I think that it's fine to turn it off after 2 minutes, maybe. Next one up, though, this is The Weeknd, who of course had a very big breakthrough in 2015, and of course still today is one of the most famous artists on the planet. This is Can't Feel My Face, which I think is a superb piece of music, really. This is the proper breakthrough song from The Weeknd that made me realize maybe this is an artist that you really should pay attention to. Snappy bass walks in this song, irresistible groove in the choruses that just work. The vocals throughout are very soulful, particularly in the verses, of course. There you kind of establish this tension in the track. It feels more intimate and heartfelt and more passionate. And then those choruses come in with this snappy, hard-hitting bass walks, a little bit of like a restrained vocal approach in melodically here. But it's just so lively behind it as well. Like the soundstage is packed with very effective sound effects that detail the track. The vocal arrangement throughout really is a superb aspect as well, because there's harmonies scattered around. There's a bunch of response work from The Weeknd here, where he's basically singing with himself, but there's so many contrasting and fun ideas being thrown around that just makes the whole song so lively. Flows very naturally as well, which is, I guess, surprising considering how contrasting the several parts of the song are. I'd place this very fondly very firmly into the A tier. I think it's a great pop tune that I'm so glad that it became a hit, really, because this is it's a little bit of like a vintage vibe as well. You kind of get thrown back in time a little bit when you hear it, taking some inspiration from songs of both the, I guess, all of like the 70s, 80s, and 90s, really, and puts a very modern take on it all with the production. And so, yeah, superb. There will be more Weeknd to discuss a little bit later as well, so don't you worry. Um, Next up is, of course, Cheerleader here by Omi, and this is the Felix Jaehn remix. Yeah, I don't know. Like in Sweden, this song was everywhere. You heard it every 10 minutes on the radio, you just heard it. And the overplay may have made me bitter, I'm not sure. However, I guess I should maybe start by applauding it for being somewhat upbeat and kind of very smooth in its presentation. Perhaps I should do that. But that's about it. Like then after this opening with the little soft little trumpet coming in there and some neat, nice mellow synth work, Omi starts singing and his voice sounds like it's really like evaporating into thin air. It's so breathy and the phrasing really tries to enhance some kind of rhythm to the song in the melody, but instead it just gets distracting. I understand that he has an accent. I'm not blaming it on that. But it's a very off-putting kind of delivery that he has in here. The vocals also, for some reason, they sound like they're being processed through like a sonar radar in a submarine. Like you're hearing it through there with the amount of delay, the filtering on this thing, the reverb, that the excessive amount of reverb, they just drowned his vocals in. It's so off-putting. And then if not to really like to emphasize all of this reverb usage, the entire percussive arrangement during the choruses, which really is like the choruses are so scaled back, it's basically percussion that just drives the harmonic melody forward. It's so irritating as well because you drowned everything in there with reverb as well. It's a big puddle of reverbed sounds that aren't cohesive. They're just scattered all over the place. I can understand if it creates this kind of soundscape that feels a bit aquatic and mellow and chill and relaxing, but to me it sounds terrible. It's not something I enjoy listening to whatsoever. It's the first F of the video. Don't you worry, it won't be the last. I'll already spoil that, but this is a rough listen for me. I turn it off immediately whenever I hear it. Sorry for any Omi fans out there, but it's not for me. It could be for you, and you enjoy it then, but I won't be joining you in it. Next up, more The Weeknd. This is The Hills, and I think The Hills really stands out a lot on this list with its huge soundscape, expressive sound design, which I think should be applauded. It feels very experimental in both its instrumentation and production, which, kudos. But ultimately, when I listen to this as well, I feel like the production, if it wants to be experimental, it should still sound decent. And in my ears, this doesn't really, because the 808s are so overbearing in this song that you can't really hear much behind them on a speaker. And it's unfortunate, but I assume it's just intentional, but it is very distracting, at least to me. I want this kind of I want a cohesive frequency blend when I listen to music. I don't want to hear only just a bunch of bass and then nothing else, like everything else just kind of mumbling in the background, being completely overshadowed. It's ultimately a really tiresome listen to me. I think I can't ignore the characteristic identity that it has, but it's just not really that engaging for me, I suppose, even though it tries to be so outside of the box and whatnot. I think lyrically as well, it's a little bit distracting. I mean, Weeknd, the main line that I always get stuck in my head is when he's telling his recipient that he just performed, should we say, reproductive activities with 2 female dogs, and that she has to follow his tempo, to quote his words, really. It's very, no. I'm placing this in the C tier as well. It's experimental enough. I'm placing it between Lean On and 679, but a lot of things that I just don't really click with in this song as well. But I appreciate aspects of it, absolutely. Earned It is another The Weeknd song and another 50 Shades of Grey song from this year. And apparently over in America, this was the bigger hit, which surprises me because in Sweden it absolutely was not. However, it is definitely a song that fit the movie, I suppose, because it's very suggestive and sultry and a bit dark and mysterious, and I get that. Like the whole approach instrumentation-wise is kind of cool. I think the soulful vocals that The Weeknd performs in this song as well, they're characteristic. They carry the song forward. Ultimately, however, I find this song to be kind of flat and uninteresting and straight up boring, which is maybe not a very nice word to use, but I'm very, very bored and uninterested in this whenever I listen to it. Even though like the whole approach of the track tries to be so kind of world building and wants to transport you into this place of really like darkness and smoke and you know, it really tries to build up a certain feeling. But I'm just not clicking with the tempo of this. It's just dragging on and I never really click. So it's a D. It's a D tier. I'm placing it above. No, I'm not. Sorry. No, I just don't find this one interesting at all. So it's still D, I'd say. But yeah, I'll definitely have a favorite Weeknd track from this year. I'll tell you that much. And it's quite clear on the list as well which one that is. Watch Me Whip, Watch Me Nay Nay by Silentó. Awful. This is way worse than Cheerleader. I don't even know. Like, this is obviously, it's very much in the vein of Macarena, and I wouldn't even want to group Gangnam Style into this because that one actually has like an explosive arrangement behind it. This is just lazy songwriting. The beat is very flat and skeletal, really. Silentó's vocal performance is whiny and very repetitive and obnoxious. The whole concept of the track is just mentioning a bunch of dance moves that people should make when listening to this. It's just a really annoying song, really. I can't click with it whatsoever. I have no fun with it. I immediately turn it off whenever it starts, whenever he shouts, "You already know who it is!" Luckily for me, I suppose, I have never heard of Silentó after this song, and I intend to keep it that way. It's an F-tier song. Don't enjoy it at all. Taylor Swift back with another song. This is Blank Space. This is, in my opinion, far superior to Bad Blood, which I talked about earlier. Blank Space is really what I like most about Taylor Swift, I suppose. It's this mellow instrumentation that opens up the song. Sincere vocal delivery. I think she has a characteristic impact on this track that just soars magically throughout. There's also kind of a nice little contrast within the song as well, because I think the percussion is very punchy to push the song forward, and the overall instrumentation that it has behind that is very mellow and scaled back and really relies a lot on, I guess, airy kind of sounds and wide pads and whatnot. So that combination shouldn't maybe work, but I think it does here, and the incredibly crisp vocal delivery from Taylor Swift is probably a good reason for that. The verses are scaled back. They're very soft. They kind of enhance the storytelling of the song. And then these choruses, they just elevate naturally with, and just kind of soar melodically, I would say, in this song. Perfectly balanced production, stunning melody, well executed by Taylor Swift here. And I love this song. I really do. I think it's a perfect little pop package that I'm placing in the S tier, actually. If I maybe this is spoilers for future tier list rankings, but this is my second favorite Taylor Swift song of all time, and you already know which one is my favorite because I've talked about it before. But I think this one is perfect. There's not a single thing I think is wrong with it. Melodically, it's just perfect as well. Like that's probably like the main thing. I think the melody is just so beautiful. And if you actually want to hear like a song that's even emphasizing, or a version of this song that's emphasizing this beautiful melody even further, I think there's a very nicely written and executed cover, like a very sad cover of this song by Eden Project, who of course later became Eden. So if you haven't heard that version, actually, I do recommend it. I think it's really highlights how stunningly written this song is, because it scales back and just focuses on the melody, which maybe gets a little bit overshadowed in such a glossy little production that this one has, but still find it to be brilliant. Blank Space, easily in the S tier for me. Shut Up and Dance by Walk the Moon. I understand some people have probably a little bit of an issue with this song, and I get it. It's a bit... it could absolutely be considered a bit annoying in its upbeatiness and just high energy, but I click with it, you know. I connect with this high energy. I think the song is playfully performed instrumentally. You really hear that they've had fun putting this one together. The choruses are fun. They have rhythmic distinction and a little bit of playful detailing in there. I think the vocal lines, of course, are very sing-along friendly. Like, this is a song gets you kind of like the energy definitely transmits itself to me, and then when you're already there, you just kind of feel like this very accessible and sing-along friendly hook just encourages you to be a part of the fun, really. I'm stoked about such a happy tune, like with a proper pop rock instrumentation charting so highly. I think that's really great to see. I love it when that happens. So I'm placing this one in A. I don't think it's as like impressive or characteristic as Can't Feel My Face, but it's still an A, I would say. I get a lot of enjoyment out of this one. So great little song there. Now, Sugar by Maroon 5. We're very much in the Maroon 5 era now of just stop. Like a morsel of sugar would have been enough on this one. It's more pitchy Levine vocals. It's peppered with grunts and moans for God knows what reason. It's such an uncomfortable listen. Like who wants to hear this? I don't know. I guess kudos to the person who mixed this thing, because he emphasized the bass so much that it really steals all of the spotlight from the rest of the song, mainly in the verses, I would say. And maybe that's for the better. It's a very odd listen due to it, but I really don't mind when the rest of the verse is the way that it is. The choruses as well, really irritating. These elongated pauses that they use. It's the sugar, yes please, wait, and then you continue. Like it's these pauses to kind of like try to be catchy, but it's just flat. Is it an F? No. Oh, that feels harsh. It's an E. It's a very weak E for some reason. Trap Queen by Fetty Wap, the next Fetty Wap track, and this is of course the big one. This is the standout hit that just has some of the most catchy melodic work of the year for sure. I think that every single melody line throughout the song is instantly recognizable and sing-along friendly. The choruses, of course, mainly so, but just the opening alone, you're just hooked from the get-go. The beat is so effective. It has drive, it has energy. It also has like kind of an iconic stamp in its dynamics and distinction. And then the vocals just soar throughout the song. Obviously, the heavy processing is excessive in this song, but it's also used as kind of like a catchiness device, I suppose, because they ultimately add a lot of character to the song and makes the song what it is. Kind of like some of the old Kanye West songs, I guess I've talked about before. This is an A-tier song, above Shut Up and Dance as well. I have tons of fun listening to this one. It's not groundbreaking, not in any way, and it isn't maybe something that I would regularly listen to or return to, but something about it is just so irresistible. It's a banger. It really is. So yeah, tons of fun to listen to, really. Whatever you think of like the genre and the lyrical content and whatnot, the song is just a vibe. So I guess that's really what I land on here. And just the fact that it's melodically so memorable throughout all of the segments of the song, I think that's impressive. That's the word I'm looking for. Next up, the top three, and all three of these songs were, of course, like they're so famous, and I've heard them a million times. Maybe not. That's hyperbole on my part. But Wiz Khalifa and Charlie Puth made "See You Again," which of course became a hit mainly due to the fact that it was in the Fast and the Furious movie that I never saw. But whatever, I understand the concept. It's very sentimental and emotionally poignant. The crazy amount of overplay that this song has probably made me lose a little bit of the emotional connection that I had with it. I don't think it's a particularly creative song either. It's just very effective and accessible. The pretty choruses are, of course, probably the standout. I don't think Wiz Khalifa really provides a lot of memorable lines on this one. I guess the line of the how can you... It's something about loving your family when family is all you've got. I've forgotten it, but there's something in there that, you know, it still sticks in here, like you remember that line, but it's really the chorus that sells it, I suppose. I think it's pretty. I don't think it's much more than that. I'm placing it in the C tier, behind Love Me Like You Do. Yeah, that feels right. It's okay. It's solid enough. Next up, Thinking Out Loud by Ed Sheeran, which is another incredibly overplayed song. I don't find the song to be particularly interesting. However, it is quite romantic and sweet. What can I say? Like I'm a softie, you know. I could definitely appreciate a warm embrace to this song. Not really that I've experienced that for a very long time, but whatever. It's scaled back enough to really fit the concept of the song as well. Like instrumentally, it's all about the little guitar work and this very subtle, smooth little drum beat that's really establishing quite a warm tone to the song. The guitar work throughout as well is very, very pretty. It does what it wants to do. I like the progression of the song as well when the little guitar solo comes in there. It's a nice little variation. And that snare that the song has always manages to get my fingers snapping along to the beat as this kind of subtle beat is just swaying your body in a sideways motion. And I always snap my fingers to that snare drum. It's a B tier song. I'm placing it here next to Mr. Derulo. And I move on to the big one from 2015. And this is the big one with a capital, I was about to say a capital B, but it's a capital S. Uptown Funk by Mark Ronson and Bruno Mars might be the most fun song of the 2010s. Would anyone argue that? Maybe. Yeah, probably. A lot of people would argue that. But oh my, just immense amount of energy. It's the vocally most irresistible, sing-along friendly, catchy song that just keeps on going. It keeps on expanding. It goes all out for just playfulness, detailing, catchy melodies, wonderfully charming instrumentation and a superb production by Mark Ronson, who really just knocked it out of the park with this one and really put him on the map as like a featured artist, really, because before this he was I didn't know much about him. He was a producer like so many others, but this is like his big moment in the spotlight. And what a way to put your name out there. I mean, this song sounds so incredibly refreshing while simultaneously flirting with vintage styles. Bruno Mars you couldn't pick a better vocalist for a song like this. And Bruno Mars, of course, kind of left his very romantic, sad piano ballads style to just go all out party, upbeat, proper party dance anthem. And I mean, this song is just it's up there because everyone just knows this. And right as the opening hits of the do little what do you say, like the vocal arrangement there, it's just time to snap your fingers. It's time to move along to it. It's time to clap your hands, stomp your feet, and just dance and enjoy everything that's being laid out in front of you. Characteristic, so expressive vocally and instrumentally, brilliant production on it, flows so naturally, so fun to listen to. I still listen to it in 2024 quite regularly. The song has aged brilliantly as well. And yeah, what a way to just top off a really good year, if I'm completely like when I just look at this list here. Obviously, I don't like Watch Me and Cheerleader, and there are like Sugar and yeah, Sugar's really bad, to be honest. And Fight Song and Bad Blood, I don't really care for either, you know. But you got Uptown Funk, you got Take Me to Church, Blank Space, Can't Feel My Face, Trap Queen, Shut Up and Dance, Want to Want Me, Thinking Out Loud. I think all of these are just great, great songs. How many are that? That's 8 songs that I just think are great. 6 of them amazing. Like, truly. I'm the kind of like, this one maybe belongs in the S tier, to be honest, but I'm keeping it there. That's definitely top of A tier. Great year really to revisit. I know for a fact that 2016 won't really be as fond in my memories. Maybe I'm just blinded by nostalgia from this year because I know all of these songs so well. I've taken a little sneak peek on 2016 and the years after that, and I realize I recognize less and less songs every year I move forward from here, which might be a little bit of a problem. So I have a lot of catching up to do on these songs. However, 2015 was a blast to revisit. I hope you enjoy some of these songs as well, and do let me know which ones are your favorites. Until tomorrow, when I talk about 2016, I hope you all take care and have a lovely rest of the day. Thank you for watching. Take care and bye-bye.